Somewhere in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean is a small kayak, which is lost at sea. Coast Guard dispatch received this call 2 days ago from a failing cell phone.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I got hypothermia. I'm in a bad state. No water.
We did have some Coast Guard helicopters and a plane searching for him. I asked him if he saw him. He did not.
I've been looking everywhere for you guys.
Hey, can you see land?
That was the last contact anyone had with missing kayaker Jon Stockton. 2 days before the call, Jon had been sailing along the coast of Hawaii's Big Island when a violent storm swept him out to sea. Now, Coast Guard and Navy aircraft search for a 7-foot boat in an ocean that covers a third of the Earth.
Jon had been lost at sea for a total of 5 days, and the Coast Guard had been searching for him for 3. And we knew he was out there, but we didn't know exactly where.
Knowing that he's been lost at sea for almost a week without food and water, rescue crews are losing hope of finding Jon alive. In fact, they're just a few hours from calling off the search when a faint glimmer appears among the waves. Seconds later, it's confirmed. Rescuers have Jon Stockton's boat in sight, and somehow, against all odds, he appears to be alive.
Jonathan, when we arrived on scene, was about 100 nautical miles south of the Big Island. He was out there.
Jon had all but given up hope when he heard the roar of the rescue plane's engines.
And they started to circle around me, and I'm just like, save me, please, God, please, you know. And they flew right over the top of me, and just deafening noise, you know.
A Navy P-3 crewman immediately drops 2 flares to mark the man's location. Coast Guard crews arrive minutes later and toss an inflatable raft filled with provisions into the water. After days of being lost in a never-ending stretch of blue, of being scorched by the inescapable sun, Jon Stockton can hardly believe he's really being rescued.
I mean, I was totally delusional. When I paddle up to the boat and it says enter raft by front, you know, and it's circular, and I'm going around and going, what do they call in the front, you know, and it looks the same. So I just jump over the side.
Once Jon is in the boat, a Coast Guard helicopter hovers in close. The pilot moves into position, and rescue swimmer Scott Gordon descends into the ocean. He doesn't waste any time getting to the exhausted victim.
When I got to the life raft, I started to talk to Jon. My first concern was his health and how he was doing.
I said, how am I doing? You guys just saved my butt.
As an extremely thirsty Jon Stockton drinks some much-needed water, Scott Gordon assures him that his plight is almost over. But first, with the helicopter overhead, Stockton and the rescuer will have to leave their vessels and swim to a safe distance.
I made Jon get into the water because we don't hoist directly from the raft or a boat, because if we try to hoist from that, with the rotor wash in the helicopter, it tends to flip the raft and cause more of a nuisance, more of a hazard.
When the men are far enough away from the raft, the chopper's flight mechanic lowers a rescue basket into the water. Gordon helps him in. And as the cable starts to hoist the basket up, he closes his eyes and reflects on the past week. He knows he almost didn't survive.
The last day, I just felt like I was about to shut down. Like the organs in my body were just ready to shut down.
Jon had even written out his will and attached it to his kayak. He was literally ready to die when his rescuers showed up. But it's not until Jon is safely in the helicopter that he realizes how truly miraculous his rescue was.
I just look out the window and I see this little sliver of a boat. And I just said, how did they see me, man? That's just too much.
After a 30-minute flight back to shore, Stockton is taken to the hospital for treatment of severe sunstroke and dehydration.
It was just an absolute miracle that I was found that far out. And I sure thank those guys. And I got down on the tarmac out here going, and I hugged them all. You know, I hugged even the guy refueling the plane. I was just so happy to be intact.
But as it turns out, Jon could have avoided this trauma before it began. When the storm first blew in, the sail on a $6,000 collapsible kayak popped up and caught the wind. The powerful gust instantly began taking the boat out to sea, and Jon didn't know what to do.
That faced with the decision there, do I let go and just swim for shore, or do I try and rescue the boat? Try to rescue the boat, and it cost me big time.
In a final act of irony, he didn't even get to keep the boat he had fought so hard to save. The Coast Guard had to sink the kayak to prevent it from becoming a navigational hazard for other vessels. Luckily, thanks to the Navy and Coast Guard, Jon will get the chance to live and learn.
I got a card from the Coast Guard for Christmas, and they're all, let us know when you're coming back out. We'll get ready again. Those guys are great.